Good afternoon. This is Isaac with Programmable Audio, the conclusion episode of Mix with a Noob. And I did say that last episode that would be the final one, but I ran into some issues. I wanted to go over this as kind of a final lesson for mixing. So that'll be this episode. Today is my last day of day shift. I switched to PM shift tomorrow. It's a 2 to 10 shift at my job. And I do, I'm on workout number 24. It's funny because my episodes of my workouts have been kind of keeping neck and neck. So workout number 24 is today, and I'll only have 6 left after that. And that feels freaking amazing. So the thing that happened with this mix, I sent it out to a wave. I listened to it in my car, and it was overblown. I had way too much high end. The cymbals were much too loud. So I think what I was doing was the limiter, something was set wrong. So let me go real quick here. This is how I've been mastering. This is my chain here. I run the audio statistics. I get the RMS, the total averaged RMS for the whole song. I add 16 dB to it, and then that sets my limiter threshold. I also have light compression here, a 1:4 ratio. I have this master bus glue preset, and then I kind of tweak it a little bit, lower the threshold. And then I have this hardness remover has been sounding kind of good. And I think if you look at this arc right here of these 5 or 4 top bands here for this compressor, that this actually compresses by frequency rather than the entire signal. And so I thought maybe what I had was some auto makeup gain on or something. And I couldn't find anything like that. So I figured maybe it was just either my compressor settings or my limiter. Something was just slamming it, and the high end was just way too much, and it was too much with the vocals. So I decided, okay, I did need some changes, because I said I was going to commit based on if the kick and the vocals were good. And that the one caveat was that if I had any major mistakes, that I would come back and fix them. So I could not commit. I could not commit to the mix. I'm finding that it's actually much more difficult than it sounds to just commit and walk away from a mix, because I don't want it to sound like garbage. The other thing I found was the doubling vocals meant that the chorus vocals were much too loud. So I've corrected a lot of what I found here. I lowered the ambient bus. Ooh, this is different. I actually got rid of the ambient. I tried just removing the ambient verb, and it didn't sound that great. So I went ahead and re-edited it back in here. So what was happening? Something was happening with this chain. So I came back in to fix it, and I made a really, really big mistake. That was last night, and it was while I was preparing to do an episode, a final kind of wrap up, and say, the mix is good. I was making those few little changes, and I probably spent an hour mixing, and I was very tired after my workout. After working an entire shift and then doing my workout, 45-minute workout, my brain was kind of cooked, and I was ready for bed, and it was right before bed. And so I guess that's the mistake, is mixing when you're super tired. What was happening, I still had the wave file sitting down here, because what I've been doing is this render out, and then there's a setting here. Let's go to the render menu. Here's the box you check here, add rendered item to new track and project. So that's what lets me pop it down in here. I solo this track. I have my mastering, and this is, rough mastering. This is just to get it to listenable, kind of. Maybe later I'll go through and try again or something. Maybe the whole album at once or something. I can do the raw waves that are not mastered. So I was mixing with the wave file in the project, you take the whole project and you send it out as a wave, and you put it at the bottom of the project. So you essentially have 2 of everything, and then you start mixing up top your individual levels, but that static mix at the bottom isn't changing. And so I was getting like phase stuff going on with the guitar. I couldn't get the vocals to move up or down the way I wanted, and it was perplexing and it was very frustrating. And I was starting to really feel despair and frustration and anger at this mix. Like, why now, after all this work I've done, I was getting so close, and now it just sounds like garbage. I have, like, the guitars had major phase. They were, I mean, it sounded like a phaser effect on the guitar, and I was trying to figure it out, hunt it down. It was driving me nuts. And then at the last second, right before I quit for the night, I found that I had left this unmuted in the track. And so I was trying to mix against a pre-mixed, a set mix. Excuse me. So that was my big noob mistake, and I wanted to share that with you in my conclusion video, because this kind of thing can happen. You have to be very careful about what you've done to your project, and I know now from now on to always scroll down and check here to make sure I don't have one of my exports. And it happens because you finish mixing for the night and you want to send the mix out. You're already tired. You rip it and you put it on your phone, or you send it to the drive, to the cloud, and you want to go to bed. You're tired, so you just hit save on the thing and leave, and you forget that you left that file just sitting in there unmuted. So I'm not really sure, how exactly that did happen. I was careless, so I came back in here and I did make the changes I wanted to, and now I have the track sounding pretty good. I was able to get rid of a lot of that high end, so let's give it a listen. The snare has been problematic for me this entire time. Like, just now when I heard it, the snare sounds too loud, so I'm going to drop it another half a dB. The snare verb and everything has always been really tricky for me to make the snare sound natural. Okay, that sounds about right to me. Okay, now the vocals sound too low to me, but again, what we've learned is that that's how I want it in these earphones. So that's good. I have some automation on the vocals that brings up the volume for the verse and brings it down for the doubling part. And it's just by 1 dB, so it's not that extreme. So that should help even out the volumes between verse and chorus. Why is that at 18? This is weird. I don't think it matters as long as this one. Yeah, this one goes to 18, and then it should drop to 17. Yeah. Make this. These are so close together that you have to make this track ridiculously huge to even see the difference between the two. So you just have to keep going in. Now you can see it there. It does drop by 1 dB right there. Okay, so that's one change I made. I lowered the volume of the ambient bus overall, and then I tweaked, like I gave it a dip here. I kind of changed some of the parameters just to make it less harsh, because it was really, really harsh in my ear. I changed the reverb. I have it on the snare plate, and the reason why, let's listen to it. So I have a lot of the cymbal coming through, but I also get a lot of snare in there too. So I change it to the snare, and I just have it deprecated to negative 18 dB. Let's set it back to normal. See how much louder and just echoey that is? So by deprecating it, now we're just giving it just a hint of reverb. Let's add the snare to that. Let's add the kick to that. That sounds like too much kick to me, and if I remember right, if it's too much kick in the earbuds, in the earphones, then in my car it's going to be too much. Now I don't have the Bluetooth hooked up to my car at the moment, come to find out, so I'm going to drag this down by a dB. And I'm also dragging the sine wave down at the same time just because it's giving a lot of body to the... All right, let's add the bass back in here. I'm adjusting this one. This is one of the changes I was struggling with, was some of the bass parts were too loud, were sounding too loud. That sounds good. Okay, I had lowered the vocal bus manually here for a certain reason. I need to set that back. I think that's why the vocals were so low. Okay. All right, so this is at the point now where I'm going to send it out to the Wave again. I'm actually going to send it out to Wave. So I'm going to listen to it in my car. And I'm going to give myself 2 revisions. I think because last time I was just much too strict saying, like, this is it, I'm going to commit only if the kick and this is wrong. But I'm going to 2 revisions. So I'm going to pick out two items per revision also. I'm not going to, if I hear problems, I'm not going to try to fix 4 things per revision. I'm going to do 2 revisions, 2 items per revision. Because I also know if I have issues with balance in one thing, say I have 4 issues, say it's kick, vocals, high end, and bass. If I change kick and vocals, then it's going to alter high end and bass, just by the nature of sound shaping. If I reduce the kick, the bass is going to come through a little more. If I reduce the vocals, the high end. So 2 things probably on opposite sides of the spectrum, kick and vocal maybe only if they're in line, or snare and vocal or something. And then I'll listen to that revision, and then a second round of revisions with two more items, and then that's it, and I'm going to commit. So I think that's a better way to approach it than saying this is it, this is the final mix, because I'm at episode 20 and I had that number in my mind. So yeah, that's the plan now. So I'm going to render this out. I'm going to send it to my phone, listen to it on my way to the gym, and when I come back from the gym, I'm going to do part 2 of this episode, or the continuation of the episode. I'm just going to pause the recording and jump back on here. So when I come back, hopefully you'll see my, this covered in sweat, and I'll say, okay, I listened to it in the car 3 times. Here's what's wrong. Let's fix that. Boom. And then at that point, I might hook my car up to the Bluetooth. It turns out that in my car, I actually have to go into the menu using the voice command, which is super awkward. I really wish it was just touch, on the screen instead of voice command. I have to go into the voice command and change Bluetooth devices. And it takes, it's like a 2-minute, 3-minute process. When in other vehicles, you just hit Bluetooth and it's like select source and you click, you're done, 10 seconds. This is like a 2-minute, Bluetooth audio settings, confirm, you have to hit the button over and over and say this stuff out loud. And Subaru did not think that one through. That's not a great feature. And I'm thinking what I need is an aftermarket receiver when I can afford one. So first revision, 2 items. I'll listen to it on the way to the gym. I'll come home, revise those 2 items, send it out, send the mix out again, go and listen in my car, and I'll pause the video, and then 2 revisions to that item, and then we're going to commit. And I do promise at that point we will commit, because now I am getting pressure to continue. I sent the mix to my band, and I said I've been spending a lot of time on this, and and the answer was, don't spend too much time. We need to get the album out. People need to hear this. It's got a good garage band feel, and that's from from the guitar player singer who, this is his work primarily. So he's saying, what he's saying is that he doesn't care about extra refinement. He doesn't want it. He doesn't need it to be polished in any way. So I'm okay with that. But my thing is that I don't want it to be unlistenable. I don't want it to be the kind of thing where you play it and you turn it up and it's just like grinding in your ear and you just don't. People won't tolerate that. They'll turn the album off in 2 seconds. So that's where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pause now. And like I said, I'm going to render it out. And then when I resume, you should see me covered in sweat and doing good. And I'm back. All right. So I got my workout in. It was pretty killer. We did, they call anterior. So it's just everything focused on the back. So it was a lot of different stuff. Man, it was killer. I'm able to push hard through my workouts now, which is way different than the first week. In the first week, I would tire out one third of the way through the workout. And by the end, I was just dragging and just trying to survive. Now, I pace myself for the first thing, the first chunk of exercises. I just, go quickly. I don't push hard, but then halfway through, and especially at the very end, I push hard on whatever it is, and I try to, use all my energy. So you can see I'm pretty sweaty. I don't know if it shows on my shirt. I mean, I'm okay. So on the way to the gym, I listened to the song. Immediately, the first thing that hit me was the snare is way too sharp and loud. And sharp meaning like the high end of it is just way too piercing. So I checked my car stereo, and it turns out I did have the treble. I went and looked at you could do some basic EQ on there, and I had the bass at neutral, I had the mid-range 1 below neutral, and I had the treble 1 above neutral. I guess that was my thought of mixing. So I think I've been using my car to test mixes, and I've been, augmenting the sound of it. So I put everything to neutral, but the snare still sounds too much. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this WAV file because we're going to redo it. We're leaving this track in here because it has the mastering chain, and we'll go ahead and delete this track too. So let's go ahead and listen back to the mix. So this is just too bright. It's just too much. So this is going to be one of the changes. Okay, so this might have to do with it here. This might have something to do with it. See, I have like, it's unbalanced because I have this. Let's just play with this and see what. See, when you mess with the lower EQ, it makes the high part, it makes the part that you leave behind sound different as well. It doesn't just, like cutting EQ is not a precise thing because of resonant frequencies that, are complementary to what you're cutting can also be messed up. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete that. That might be a quick fix. And then let's look at, I think what I did with my snare verb. See, this might be part of what it is too. This might be part of why it's a little too bright. Let's listen to the snare verb all by itself. Okay, why is there nothing there? Wow, that is weird. We're receiving from all of them. But is this going to, where is it going to? Sends, it's going to the snare bus. Okay, because we don't have the snare bus. Oops. Okay, hold on. Why is it not? Okay, what did I do? That's weird. Hang on, let's undo because that's so strange. Maybe what I did was, okay, somehow I inadvertently changed the gate. That is so strange. What I wanted to do was just remove this refer. There we go. Okay. Here's what the snare verb is adding. Oh my god, this is so weird. Okay, actually that's during the muted part, so that's why I'm not hearing any signal because we have. No, we don't mute the snare. Okay, hold on. What's going on here? Yeah, something really strange happened. Let's go back. All right, so right there should be FX bypass toggle. One more. All right, so that's one more. Okay, so that's right before we made any changes. Let's look at our, there's our threshold. It's so weird. When I solo the snare verb, I get, I don't know what in the world. So maybe that could be part of my issue. Wow. So when I solo the snare verb, something happens to the gate. Is it because this, oh, this, it might be because this had 4 decibels of output gain. We need to fix that. So there's a perfect noob mistake. I had reefer on there with a like a really exaggerated low shelf, but just as far as the width of it, but it had just a couple of dB cut. And then I boosted the output by 4 dB. So, and I don't know what is up with this threshold here, and why I'm not getting. Okay, so this is probably because I don't have the drum bus soloed as well. Yeah, I don't know what is going on here with my routing. Ambient bus. Okay, that's to duck, right? Because we're on 5 and 6. This is to duck, and then parent send. Okay, why is it not? Oh, this is so weird. Let's send it to the drum bus. I don't understand why. I don't know if something happened with my. Okay, something is really weird here. Receives top, bottom, top. Yeah. It's sending the snare bus folder. This is so weird. In these headphones, it sounds fine. Let me check on my monitors real quick. Let me turn these down. See, it's sounding normal here, so maybe just removing that refer got it. And I don't know why I can't just listen to my snare verb. Actually, I mean, okay, so there it is, but it's super faint. And that's partly, let's see here. I guess that's okay, so that's the influence of this re-EQ here. So that's part of it. So I'm guessing that this EQ is really just stifling it. So I'm going to dial this back. So that was not the source of our problem. That was not making it too high pitched. So let's go to like 50% on this. And let's see if we can make these. I'm going to put an extra point in here. Just to give this a little air. I'm actually going to leave this at 2 dB. I don't want to go any higher than that. Okay, that's sounding better. Now I'm wondering, why can't I hear just my snare bus completely? That solo is a strange thing to me. Why it doesn't... Okay, there it's working. Okay, so that doesn't sound too bright to me. That doesn't sound too bad. So maybe it was just that the refer, or it could be in my mastering chain somewhere. I'm actually going to give this a little more reverb and see if that... Let's boost the snare verb all the way. See, I don't think... Now I'm not hearing enough. Okay, there's way too much. All right, so I think maybe what's going on here is the way that I changed this deprecated. So I'm going to go set this back to normal, and now this is going to be absolutely way too much. Well, maybe at -30 it'll be okay, but we'll dial this back. Yeah, see, to me that's too much. So let's dial this back. I think I had it at -10. That still sounds like too much to me, so let's go. The kick also, I think this transient is too heavy duty. I'm just going to go like 80%. I think it's too much because it's in the mix. It doesn't, I'm going to put the sustain as, it doesn't float, like it doesn't, there we go, yeah. The kick in the mix, okay, so there's 2 changes I already made, and I said I was going to just make 2 changes and commit. But I think because I changed the snare, it makes the kick stand out in a different way. So I decreased the transient boost on the kick and I increased the sustain just to make that kick ride out just a little bit longer, just to fill in those spaces. That sounds better to me. Now that snare, the verb is still driving me nuts. It's still too much, so I'm gonna go like 35 on this and see. Let's go -13. Let's go -14. I mean, I guess we don't want it to. There it is without it completely. There, it's just. I mean, it's just coloring it just a little bit. Now it might be a little too little. No, that's probably okay. Let's listen to it in the mix. All right. The other thing, now the other change, forgive me on the kick. So it's three revisions because that kick was just driving me crazy too. The vocals. There's something going on here. I have a feeling it's because both of these are getting verb. That's what my gut is telling me. I could be wrong. So I'm going to turn the verb from the double off and see what we get. Yeah. While working fingers to the bone. These just like blare out. Maybe the saturation was too heavy. I mean, I only have it at 58. Let's do 50% saturation. There's something in the vocals. Maybe it's this. It could be this bump. 45, maybe. Yeah. Let's just turn that off. That could be it. There's something in the high end. And maybe it is the way I have this EQ kind of. Actually, this EQ. Ooh, see this. That might have been it. That might have been. Me copying and pasting that EQ curve might have been where, because it's making the 2 frequencies just push up, and there was something at certain points in the song it almost distorts. It was so bad. I don't know. Breathing in foreign mold. Breathing in foreign mold. Breathing in foreign mold. Breathing in foreign mold. It's so hard to tell any kind of difference. While working fingers to the bone. Breathing in foreign. So I'm actually going to disable this too. And see if maybe making such a drastic cut here was boosting other frequencies unnaturally. And I'm also going to dial this back to 50%. Okay. Breathing in foreign mold. While working fingers to the bone. I'm going to leave mix to mono on. Ooh, my width is at... That could be part of it. I put my width to -1. I don't know why that would affect it. Breathing in foreign mold. Because these are actually not stereo. I don't have them sent left and right. So, but we'll just see how that affects it. Poisoning our brainwashed souls. So we still have the spike here in the verb. We removed it in the overall EQ. Let's see what wide. Let's set this back to default. See, I was using the default wide male vocals. Let's go wide male. Let's see, full vocals.
Everybody's working, Semper Fi. If not for these people, you may not be alive.
It's full band. Clear vocals.
Breathing in foreign mode.
Background vocals. These are quite different.
Working fingers to the bone.
Mud free.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
It's just intimate female vocal.
Blisterate from digging holes.
So that's at 25K. I mean 25 hertz. 25. 2.5K. Whatever. That sounds fine. Alright, so I'm going to leave that on there. I suspect, let's look at our chorus double 2 here. Yeah, that's, okay, so I'm pretty sure what's going on here is on the vocals, on the chorus double, which is just a duplicate of the original chorus vocals, and the EQ that I put on the vocal verb so that I don't have a lot of reverb slapping around in the lower ranges is something I've heard repeatedly, is to filter out a lot of the low end of the reverb so it doesn't sound muddy. But I put default of wide male vocal on all 3 of them, and so I was getting like these spikes in the same area. So I've EQ'd these different, and I think that should help maybe make the sound thicker, but not focus those frequencies into that one area.
Breathing in foreign mold from an ancient land. Breathing in foreign.
And I'm also going to cut the volume of the double just by 1 dB. So let's go to 13.5 because I think it's a little bit too jarring of a difference from the verse of the chorus. All right, so there's my revisions. So as I said, I'm going to do one more export. I'm going to listen to my car again, my phone, a couple of different sources, and try my best to get the mix zeroed in. Then one more set of revisions, and like I said, I'll focus in on 2 elements. I'll try not to cheat and do 3. And then I'm going to commit to the mix. Like I said, but this time I think I'm going to be in a good place because I won't be trying to mix. One, I won't try to mix when I'm tired. I won't and spend 2 or 3 hours on the computer to the point where I'm almost falling over, tired, ready to sleep, and then try to make some critical decisions with an extra file in the program, like a newb. So I'm feeling pretty good about this last final revision. As long as I don't hear any like grinding in my ear and stuff, and it can still sound raw, that's fine, because the person who wrote the song, whose song it is, essentially, has said that he doesn't mind the garage band sound or raw, rough sound. So that's fine, A lot of people are fans of just simple, not too dressed up recording. I don't have a lot of fancy stuff going on here. Just trying to make it so it's not unpleasant to the ear. Alright, so let's listen to the mastering chain. Everything's sounding good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and render this to a stereo stem. So everything is sounding good. The low end sounds too thick, but I'm sure these... I have a feeling these headphones are not serving me as well as they could. These are the CAT. Do they have the model number on here? These are KAT. These are designed for drummers to record, to be able to hear the mix without their own kit sound disturbing the mix too much. I mean, you're always going to hear your kit unless you're wearing earplugs or heavy duty. So this might be part of the issue, is that I'm getting an unfair and a skewed version of the songs, like too heavy on the low end and stuff, and I can adapt to that. But I do have another pair of headphones that are decent, but the plug-in jack is starting to get real finicky on me, and I may strip that down and replace it if I can. Have to do like some home surgery for it, but yeah. So there's my wave, and I'll go ahead and add it to my phone, which I think, yep, I have everything open here. So there's the new wave, right? Created. No, that's not it. Let's get back in there. There's the new wave created at 6:04. That's the one. So this I just drag in. Oh, you be careful because I've been sending the Reaper peak files instead of the actual wave. Then you just send it to your phone. And there's my Note 5. And I send it to downloads. It's a pretty easy thing to do. Download and just copy there. And it's going to say, do you want to convert this? No. And then because it increments the file name, it doesn't say, this is a duplicate. What do you want to do with it? All right, so here, now you have to be careful to mute these so that if I come back to this mix, I don't want to hear these again on the mix and start trying to make changes like an idiot. And then one other thing I do is I have this album project open, which if I'm going to commit to this song, then I need to bring this wave over. If this turns out to be the wave that's good, I'm going to copy this item and I'm going to paste it in here. And this song probably isn't the first. I'm pretty sure this is not the first in the play order, and that's fine. I have it labeled as the track, and it's in here. Let's see, make sure it's not clipping, because earlier I brought it over to a new project and it started clipping. Yeah, look at that. Okay, but it's not clipping the master. It's so weird. All right, so there we go. I'm gonna hit stop on the video now, and I'm gonna make a second segment, which will happen tomorrow, and that's gonna be the end of this song. Oops, there's my recording software. That's gonna be the end of this song for now. The thing that I'm feeling is that I do want to commit. If I pull up that final after the final adjustment, which will be tomorrow after work before the gym. So tomorrow morning as I drive to work, I'll listen to. Actually, tomorrow I'm switching schedules, so in the morning I go to the gym. So I'll listen on the way to the gym. I'll come home, and I'll immediately make the revisions. And then I'll listen on my way to work. And then after work, or the next day, I'll make the final video, the final portion of the video. And we'll call it good. And if there's anything else that still bugs me, I'm going to move on. I'm going to just say, you know what, maybe I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it in 10 songs when my mixing skills have increased, hopefully. And we'll look at it again from a fresh perspective, because I think I'm getting maybe song fatigue, ear fatigue, you know. I've been on this one a while, so thanks for watching. That's not the end. You'll see it fade into another segment, which will be tomorrow morning after the gym. So thanks for watching. Oh, there's my software. Good morning. It's officially morning now. I'm going to have to be doing my tutorials during the morning. I switch work schedules. Today's the first day of my night shift. Just came back from the gym, got my workout in the morning. Feels great. Ready to go. I gave this mix a listen in the car on the way to the gym and back. Listened to it about 6 times. Made sure my car stereo was dialed in correctly. Dialed in correctly, not incorrectly. So what I discovered is that the snare is still way too much. And I don't know if it's my car. Maybe it's just my car. But in my car, well, actually, that's not true. In my car and on my phone, the snare is too much. When I listen in the headphones, it doesn't sound bad. It's just, for some reason, actually right there it does sound like too much. Okay, so here's going to be my revisions, and I'm not going to, I know I said I'd limit it to 2, but I feel like there's a couple of things I need to work on. More than 2 things that I wanted to point out. And so I want to be, I guess I want to be flexible. I'm trying not to be too rigid in my mixing, but I do want this to be my very last session, and I feel like I'm right there. So the snare now feels artificial and it's much too loud. So I'm actually going to cut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 dB. Actually, let's see, where was it? It's at 3.58, so let's go to 5.58. Negative 5.58, that is. All right, and the verb was there. I think it has like a raw. It's not. There's not enough verb in it now, so I'm gonna go negative 12, and let's see how much that changes it. Okay, and I think because basically what I did is I cut the raw signal by 2, and I boosted the reverb signal by 2. But in the reverb signal, I have my wet signal down at negative 35. So, well, I mean, and the dry is full. So I guess, yeah, cutting 1 by 2 and boosting 1 by 2 is basically canceling it out. So what I want to do now, I'm actually going to cut the snare bus again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set it on a little loop right here, because I think it's most noticeable at the very, very beginning. In this first section is when it's the most noticeable. Other times during the song, when there's vocals and stuff going on, it's bearable, but you can tell it's still like it's just too cutting. It sounds too raw and too. I don't know if there's a boost somewhere that I needed to get rid of. I thought that I had taken the EQ. I guess maybe did I remove the EQ off the snare bus completely? Wow, okay. That could be why. Let's get some EQ back in here. And let's just do the default snare, but yeah, see, these boost up high. I'm afraid that it's already piercingly high enough. So maybe these two, maybe I'm going to cut the gain. Let's just cut the gain by 2. Let's not give it too much gain there. And I'm going to put my EQ before my gate. You know what? I bet maybe what I need is just some compression. Maybe that's what I'm lacking. That could be the exact issue. So let's do gate, EQ, compression, and let's do snare. Let's do the default one here. Where is it? Modern rock snare. Okay, so it is pretty much just like this part here without, when we get to the part where there's no, it's the pre-verse, when there's no vocals or lyrics, the snare is not too loud. Okay, so this compressor, the compression we're adding, we can actually have it writing, the threshold writing, so it won't be touching this at all. It's only for this loud intro part. All right, so that might do it. I think it's still too loud. So I'm gonna let it run in a loop, and I'm gonna just back this down until it's not. I'm gonna basically try to feather it, and I'm gonna go till it's way too little snare, and then I'm just gonna creep it up until it feels good. So there it's at negative 41 where you can barely hear it, and all you're hearing is is from the ambient bus. So let's go to negative 30. I know that's still going to be extreme. That's not going to be enough. Yep, so we know negative 20. And I'm just barely starting to hear it now. Let's do negative 15. I forget where we were. I think we were somewhere in this neighborhood. Negative 12 or something. Let's hear this and the kick together. Okay, so that might be. Okay, that sounds pretty good. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually mute the audio. I'm going to turn the audio down, and I'm going to listen to my monitors just for a moment. Okay, so that actually sounds just about right. One more time here. And then again, let's put it into the mix. Okay, that sounds fine. The only thing I'm wondering now, the ambient bus maybe sounds like it has too much reverb. I'm getting a lot of kind of almost shushing from that, so let's dial this down a couple dB. It'll just kiss it. I put it to -16. All right, so that's the revision. The revisions I make maybe cause some balance issues, so I try to kind of even those out as best I can. Okay, so the other thing going on, I think, besides the snare, is that the vocals have some kind of like. I had it last time too, and I thought that I conquered it. You know, looking at the EQ, and I had that build up, the EQ build up. So it might be something like this. Might be part of it too. Let's cut this gain. Like I'm not being careful enough with my EQ. Because I'm getting like there's certain frequencies where it's blaring in my ear. So let's add a band here. I actually want to do a high shelf. Okay, yeah, we'll cut that to 21 or something. Yeah. Let's listen to just the vocals. I want to hear both a portion of the chorus and a portion of the verse.
From an ancient land.
Now, what I did, if you remember, and this is going back multiple episodes, when there's a certain note,
Brainwash souls.
there you can hear it blaring. Like it's pretty obvious now.
Poisoning our brainwash souls.
So I have this automation for cutting the EQ, and I think is at this point right here.
Poisoning our brainwash souls.
Nope. Where is it? Let's look at the EQ. It's wet re-EQ.
Poisoning our brainwash.
Okay, so 22%. Which frequency? I thought I had it set to.
Poisoning our brainwash souls.
Oh, it brings this up. Wait, that doesn't make sense.
Poisoning our brainwash souls.
Okay, I might have made a mistake here because I thought this was supposed to dip. Yeah, oh, here it is. Let's look at this one. Okay, this is what? Band 5, yeah, okay.
Poisoning our brainwash souls.
Alright, so during that souls, that blaring kind of is cut.
Souls.
So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy this. It's at 400. Let's put it at 400 hertz. I'm just going to clear out these automation lanes. Oops, I didn't mean to hide it. I'm actually just going to get rid of it. Let's uncheck it. And I'm going to clear this envelope. So at 400 hertz, I'm going to make a drastic cut here. 400, I'm going to make it wider than that. And see, I'm going to put that into both and see if that's what... We're just getting that buildup and it's just ugly. It's just hurting my ear, in the car. That might be too drastic of a cut. 400, let's get it closer to 400. Okay.
Souls. Poisoning our brainwash souls.
Yeah, it's still... I wonder if this saturation, excuse me, I wonder if this could be it.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
That seemed to help a little bit. Maybe the vocal verb has something. Yeah, that looks okay. What do we have here? Stereo film manipulator. Oh, why do I have these? Why do I have the vocal bus set to wide? I have no idea why I did that. That is weird.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
I wonder if that was impacting. It doesn't seem like it.
From an ancient land, breathing in foreign mold,
So it's only when he does like the soaring notes.
while working fingers to the bone.
These sound okay. And then here we go. What? Listen for poisoning and then souls.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Souls. Souls.
Yeah, there's something there. Souls. I can't.
Souls.
Alright, so it is kind of in this area that just seems like
Souls. Souls.
just really blaring. And I guess because there's two of them, it really... Okay, that maybe this number 2 here, this peak. Let's make this wider.
Souls. 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 Souls.
Yeah, there's something there. It's just the way that they combine or something is really harsh. So I'm wondering maybe I can let's bring this down a couple dB. Let's go to 15. Partly it might just be the volume,
Souls. Souls.
but there's definitely something else.
Souls.
Let's see if saturation helps.
Souls.
No, that doesn't seem to.
Souls. 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 Souls.
Okay. Oh, I have 2 EQs on this vocal verb. I wonder why I'm doing that. Oh boy, let's remove one of them.
Souls. 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 Souls.
So it's, I don't know. I'm tempted to do something like maybe make one duck the other one or something. Let's try that. So I'm going to send this to here and I'm going to do new channels. I'm going to do 3 and 4. I'm going to put a compressor on the chorus, the doubled part. Set this to auxiliary.
Souls. Souls.
Turn the ratio up.
Souls. Souls.
I don't know if that's going to help.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
See what our release and attack. Let's go quicker release, slightly quicker attack.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
Poa.
Poisoning. Poisoning.
Oh, my compressor's not even.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
Oh, the auto makeup. Oh my god.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
Okay, so I'm guilty of something here. I don't know how to use auto makeup gain. I understand the concept of it, that if you want to soften your transients and affect, like make some kind of like pumping effect or some kind of musical effect with your compressor, but not lose your sort of like baseline amount of gain, that you can add the auto makeup back in there. But I sometimes use it as a crutch.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
So I think based on hearing that auto makeup is what was kind of making that blaring sound. So I have the first vocal ducking the second one, so it's not quite as extreme. But let's check between verse and chorus.
From an ancient land, breathing in foreign mold.
All right, and we turned this one quite a bit down, so let's turn it up a little bit back up, because now the difference between the two isn't that.
From an ancient land, Breathing in bar and mold
Let's check the compressor, make sure
from
it's
an
not...
ancient land.
See, that seems like it's working okay.
Breathing in bar and mold.
Let's check the area that was blaring.
Our brainwashed souls.
It does sound a lot better. Let's turn our saturation up.
Our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our brainwashed.
So I'm wondering if some of these cuts I made maybe are too extreme now.
Our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our brainwashed. Our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
All right, so that sounds improved. As far as the blaring, it's softened it. It's not as bad.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
And it might just be the way he sang it, you know.
Poisoning our.
Ooh, look at this. Look at what I've got this set here too. I don't understand this.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Blistering from taking holes. Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Poisoning our souls.
Okay, let's listen in the mix now. All right, so now because that auto makeup gain is gone, we need to give this a lot of volume. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these two up. I'm going to try a drastic boost of 5 dB and see if that puts us in the right neighborhood. From -10 to -5. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn them both up to 0. So that's the risk of using makeup gain. I mean, that's... And you know what? I have my automation. This volume too. I can actually, let's select all points. Right click, select all points. And I'm going to raise this up.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls.
Okay, that's better.
Blistering from taking.
All right, so now what I'm hearing now, the drums are not in there as loud. I'm going to go ahead and select the bass bus and guitar bus, and I'm going to cut these. I'm going to give these a 1 dB cut, so -16.5. Oops, I went the wrong way. There we go.
Breathing in bar and mold.
Now, if you notice, I put a brand new track here. What I want to do, I feel like the vocals are not floating on top of the rest of the mix well enough. That's my hand signal for floating, the vocals. So I did a sidechain compression here from vocal bus. Let me look at the sends here. So on the instrument, I made this brand new instrument bus and I put everything below the vocals inside of this folder. And so I have the vocal bus being sent on an auxiliary channel 3 and 4. And this is set to auxiliary input. So, and just look how it's really a faint duck. It's really not that extreme, although I'm going to drag this down just a tiny bit. It's really only just kissing it.
Breathing in bar and mold. While working fingers to the bone.
Okay, now I think I have too much vocal, so let me go ahead and back that off. Let's say 2 dB and see how that sounds.
Breathing in bar and mold.
All right, so that sounds great to me. The other thing was, I feel like the guitar was a little too dominant throughout the song, but not, I mean, it's a guitar-based song kind of, so I'm only going to cut this by half a dB. So I'm going to go to -17 on here, on the guitar.
Breathing in bar and mold.
Ooh, so that, now the bass to me sounds too loud. So let's go back the other way. I'm just going to go 16.7. If I could go 16.75, I would.
Breathing in bar and mold.
All right, there we go.
While working fingers to the bone.
I almost think maybe now there's not enough reverb. Let me boost the reverb all the way to 0.
Breathing in bar and mold.
Let's listen to the verse.
Yeah, there are no secrets.
Let's check that ducking. Let's check what the ducking looks like. Yeah, it's just barely kissing it. See that up there? This little red indicator tells you how much it's actually affecting it. I'm going to set the attack to 0, and now let's hear what it sounds like. Actually, let's boost the ratio. Is that 1.5? Let's boost it way high, just to get an idea. Okay, the threshold's too low. Yeah, there are no secrets. Things are out of hand. So that's, you can tell that's way too much. So from there we back off. We give it a slower attack just to make it sound a little more natural. And I forget where we were. I think we were at the default of 3. Let's go back to, actually I didn't even use a preset for this one. Let's try 3. Now I'm going to start dialing the ratio down back towards 1.5. Still too much. Still too much. All right, so this threshold was part of it. Yeah, there are no secrets. Things are out of hand. They think that they can reach us from an ancient. I'm gonna keep creeping this up. Maybe I'll drop the ratio a little bit more. It's like barely 1.2 is just barely, and that's good. See it up here. This number is telling you how much. So at the most I'm seeing is about like -3, which might actually be just a little too much. All right, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. That sounds awesome to me. I'm gonna send it out to Wave and listen to it on my phone in my car again. But I'm done. I'm done. I feel like I'm almost now going in circles because I'm starting to. I say, okay, I'm going to do 2 refinements, and then I come in and I do 5 refinements, five revisions, and then I go and listen to it again, and then I come back and go, well, no, it still needs one little, and then I change a bunch of other stuff, and I'm just kind of chasing my tail, so I want to stop. Oh, there was one other thing was. There was some kind of weird pop at the very end of the song. Let me see if... Maybe just the way it ends. I don't know if it has something to do with the way it ends. I'll just leave a little lead out time there. I'm not sure if it had something to do with the abruptness of the way it stopped or something. Oops, and let's get this before the actual audio. Okay. All right, so yeah, that's it. This song is done. I'm going to put it to rest and move on to another song. Like I said, I will listen to it as usual in my car, on my phone, in several different settings. If it does need some kind of change down the road, I will come back to it right before the album's done and just glance over it once just to check. And hopefully by then my skill will have increased to the point where I can recognize, okay, here's the issues with this song. And at that time, then I'll make the changes. But for now, I'm done and I'm going to move on. I like the way it sounds now. Hit save here. So thank you for watching. This is the conclusion of Mix with a Noob. And I believe I said I wanted to stop at 20 episodes, and I believe we actually got all the way to 22. But if you've been watching from the beginning, thank you very much. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. I know I say this at the end of every video. Hit like on the video. That would help us out a lot. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or suggestions for me, or especially if you see something that I'm doing completely wrong as far as the technical side of it. I'd be happy to hear it and incorporate that into my mixing later. I mean, it would be really useful for me, honestly. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in some of my other series. Check out, I'm going to do Speed Mix with a Noob next. So the next song I do, I've actually already done one episode of it. I'll put it up very soon. I'm just going to do like an hour chunk of mixing a song as fast as I can, doing things quickly and not explaining every little bit as I go, not doing a step-by-step type thing. So again, thanks for watching. Goodbye.